Hi, welcome to Kincardine United Church's Fireside Chat. This is the digital space where I reflect on current events from a faith perspective, mixing in some humor, some song, and some prayer. Thanks to the well practiced skills of Judy Zarubik on the other side of your screen, this Fireside Chat is recorded while she makes the tech flow smoothly. Once recorded, Terry Boyd uploads it to our YouTube channel where you found us. Thank you both. I couldn't do this without either of you. I must admit, I'm showing my age these days. I giggled at this next cartoon, but I realized how dated it is since most music these days is streamed. Whether you were at home streaming music or just staying away from the cold, pet accidents have consequences. As part of the former hippie generation, I represent this one. Indeed, as I get older, I realize I need to stop buying more stuff. Although going to the store to buy stuff gives me some exercise, shopping may even offer you a moment of existential reflection. For example, why do socks never come out of the dryer in pairs? Maybe they go missing through a quantum wormhole. When we take time to ponder life, delving into the bigger picture, we can find new perspectives. For example, if you took the whole world's population into a village of only 100 people, here is the percentage of people in that village. There would be 59 Asians, 11 Europeans, 12 Americans, which means North, Central, and South America combined, and finally, 18 Africans. These numbers give us some perspective about the importance of people born in Africa or descended from Africans. After all, February is Black History Month, so this is an important time to learn about Canadian history, which celebrates Black Canadians. Take a look at all these Black Canadians, both from our past and in our present. All of them made a difference in our society, often despite being Black. From former Governor General Michael Jean to gold medal Olympian Donovan Bailey, from businesswoman Viola Desmond on our $10 bill to former Lieutenant Governor of Ontario Lincoln Alexander, from sports broadcaster Kyla Gray to jazz pianist Oscar Peterson, from NHL legend Willie O'Ree to former slave turned successful rancher John Ware, from journalist and social activist Carrie Best to engineer and inventor Elijah McCoy, from actress and director Karina Evans to former world record sprinter Harry Jerome, from Baseball Hall of Famer Fergie Jenkins to Paul Smith, the first Black commander of a Canadian naval ship, from Women's Hockey Hall of Fame legend Angela James to Dr. Ruffin Abbott, who was the first Black Canadian to be licensed as a physician, from Rosemary Brown, the first Black Canadian woman elected to provincial parliament, to Delos Davis, the first Black King's Counsel, from Barbara Howard, who was the first Black woman to represent Canada in international competition, as well as the first visible minority to be hired by the Vancouver Board of Education, to celebrated educator, lawyer, publisher, and abolitionist Mary Ann Shadd Carey. As United Church minister Reverend Franklin James writes, we celebrate not just the past triumphs, but the ongoing resilience and creativity of Black Canadians in all fields. Black Canadians have played and continue to play a pivotal role in shaping our nation. In the United Church, this month is a time to acknowledge and to appreciate the diversity and the depth that Black congregants and leaders bring to our faith communities. This is why Black History Month is important to celebrate. As an opinion piece by Shalene Drakes Tull in yesterday's Toronto Star states, we might not need a Black History Month if Black history, the full history of Black people in Canada, not just the Underground Railroad, was part of our education as Canadian students. Black History Month opens doors to understanding Black Canadians and to celebrating the accomplishment of all Canadians.
Since the early beginnings of Canadian history, people of African descent have made significant contributions to the development of our great country. The No. 2 Construction Battalion served Canada proudly during the First World War. William Hall became the first Canadian sailor, the first Nova Scotian, and the first Black to receive the Victoria Cross. Mary Ann Shadd Cary was the first woman of African descent to edit a newspaper in North America. African Canadians have made their mark in music, in sports, and continue to make contributions to many aspects of Canadian life. Celebrate our proud heritage. Celebrate Black History Month.
The most recent person publicly honored is Mary Ann Shadd Cary. As the video related, she was the first Black woman in North America to found and to edit her own newspaper. As a free-born American during a time when many Black people were still enslaved, she came to Canada in 1853. Blows my mind. That was 100 years before I was born. Through her newspaper, the Provincial Freeman, she played an important role in promoting Canada as a place for Black people to settle, raise families, and contribute as free citizens. This month, Canada Post has issued this stamp commemorating Shadd Cary's contributions. However, such actions tend to feed into the idea that slavery is a history of Black people and not the history of white people. While she was very much a part of the Underground Railroad system, she pushed for equity for all, regardless of race. I see no color is not the goal. Instead, the goal is I see your color and I honor you. I value your input. I will be educated about your lived experience. I will work against the racism that harms you. You are beautiful. Tell me how to do better. The beauty of anti-racism is that you don't have to pretend to be free of racism to be anti-racist. Anti-racism is the commitment to fight racism wherever you find it, including in yourself. And it's the only way forward. Sadly, within the church, people's hearts really need opening. And I want to say to them and to myself, stop walking around with a mouth full of scripture and a heart full of hate. My observation is that not all bigots burn crosses. Some hide behind them. In fact, the Western Church has fed into prejudice. Consider this cartoon. Jesus wasn't white. When portraying Jesus in art, imagine how much more diversity would be embraced in the church if all of the images we had of Jesus and of the disciples were of brown-eyed, dark-skinned people rather than blue-eyed, white-skinned people. They were not. We live in a society that loves feel-good stories about people coming together to help members of their community in need, but scoff at the idea of building a system based on that very same concept. The reason that the movement Black Lives Matter arose is because Black lives were marginalized and in greater need due to racism. Certainly, every person matters, but those we need to help first are those in greatest danger, and they are Black. Let me try to explain what systemic racism is like. Imagine you are playing a board game with a friend. She's not a cheater, and she means you no harm. But the rules of the game let her roll twice every turn. However, you have to roll a 4 or higher before your turn counts. That's systemic discrimination. Your friend may not perceive it while getting offended if you say she has an advantage. After all, she is playing by the rules as she has learned them. The game, though, is rigged. Black History Month is intended to open our eyes to such injustice. What if we put ourselves in the shoes of those who are systemically marginalized by our society?
The first day I realized I was Black, it was 2000. We had just learned about Blacks for the first time in second grade. At recess, all the white kids chased me into the wood chanting slave. My mother said I refused to come out for 3 hours. Said she thinks I was lost in the trees, but I just needed to be closer to my roots.
As a woman, having a boyfriend is a battle. If 70% of us are abused in a lifetime, what is the number of men doing it? The answer is not one man running faster than light to complete a mission, and that is what leaves me sick.
The second day I realized I was Black was in a gas station. I only had 25 cents, so I searched what to spend it on. The cashier floated from aisle to aisle, eyes fixed on my hands. That was the first time I realized skin color was a crime.
My body has become cause to write legislation, cause for ass smacks in the back of a class. My body has demanded everything except respect. I've been asked, what makes you feel unsafe? And I struggle not to yell.
Everything. The third day I realized I was Black was in an all-white cafeteria. I gathered my legs under me, made rockets on my feet, and approached a girl. She told me she was not into my type of guy. I felt the words shoot daggers into my melanin. I have never wanted to disappear so bad.
As a woman, I've learned to answer to everything except my name. Little lady is not said to mean equal, but to make sure I remember my place, I battle between wanting to own my body and accepting there is a 1 in 4 chance a man will lay claim to my skin, a plot of land for the taking.
The last day I realized I was Black was in an elevator in California. To the white woman that told me she knows what it feels like to be Black because she grew up poor, I would tell you to think before you speak, but your mind has got to be bacteria infected, and any filter through that labyrinth of nothingness might be worse than no thought at all.
There's a group of women going around the room sharing their personal definition of feminism. He is the only man in the room, and all of a sudden, the tone switches to destroying the patriarchy by annihilating all men.
Do you know what it feels like to be Black? To pop lock your way in and out of hugs, it is not a problem you want to sympathize. But to tell me you know my pain is to stab yourself in the leg because you saw me get shot. We have 2 different wounds, and looking at yours does nothing to heal mine.
Never will I turn away an ally.
But when a man speaks on my behalf, that only proves my point.
Movements are driven by passion, not by asserting yourself dominant by a world that already put you there. You speak to no pain, you only fathom because we told you it was there. You know nothing of silence until someone who cannot know your pain tells you how to fix it. Every day is a crucifixion when there is no regards for lines crossed.
I fight so my voice can be heard. I fight for the voices you silence, all in the name of what is right.
The problem is you assume this struggle is attached to a social class. I am Black and bold and beautiful by nature. Ain't no income that can change that.
The problem with speaking up for each other
is that everyone is left
without a voice.
Without a voice. Wow. I have had people ask me why I want to keep pushing social justice issues like Black History Month. Why don't we just treat each other nicely? Isn't that where it starts? Yes, it is, but there is so much more. Often being nice silences the very real human cost of systemic injustice. When we share stories of Black Canadians, we learn more, not just empathically, but also about the places within ourselves where racism still hides. Consider the pain so eloquently expressed by Maya Angelou in her poem, Still I Rise. It speaks prophetically of our need to listen. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom because I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room? Just like moons and like suns with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard? You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide, leaving behind nights of terror and fear. I rise into a daybreak that's wondrously clear. I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. I'm fully convinced that the greatest thing you can do for someone, the most Jesus-like, most God-honoring thing, is to err on the side of loving them. To love is to learn through Black History Month. As we intentionally as we intentionally excise racism from our hearts and learn more about Black Canadian history, here is the hope. Black skin or white, wide or slim, it's just a skin, the skin we're in. They or them, he or she, is just a noun. They're all me. It's just a shape, it's just a name. They all need love, they all feel pain. It's just a shade, it's just a name. We're all a we. We're all the same. You see, he who is different from me does not impoverish me, he enriches me. There is a story of a wise teacher who tried to convey how much more each person is alike than different. On the first day of class, she had all of them stand and say what their favorite hobby was, or their favorite toy, or their favorite food, etc. If another liked it, they would say, "Me too," and stand with the group. Through this exercise, the children soon realized how much they had in common with their classmates, making them less anxious, more relaxed, and comfortable. Soon they were laughing and talking and quickly making friends. Poet Amanda Gorman performed her poem, "The Hill We Climb," at President Joe Biden's inauguration 3 years ago. In part, she told us, "We must put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so we can reach out our arms to one another." Then she ended her poem with this powerful vision. A new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it. Perhaps that is just too challenging a message for some. Amanda Gorman's poetry books were banned from school libraries in Florida last year. Her book sales have since soared. If we listen and learn, we can change ourselves and our society. Let me offer this video song as a prayer affirming the worth of each of us and all of us. Yes, racism fosters fear in both the anti-Black racist and in Black people. However, in God's loving embrace, when we step out in trust and we learn the full inclusiveness of the way of Jesus, we see this.
I know you by heart, just as you are. You are mine. I know you by heart. Your name is written on the palm of my hand. Do not fear, I am here. I know you by heart. Do not fear, I am here. I know you by heart, just as you are. You are mine. I know you by heart. Your name is written on the palm of my hand. Do not fear, I am here. I know you by heart. I know you by heart.
God knows us indeed by heart, for God sees within what is truly there, beyond the skin we wear, beyond the culture in which we're embedded. Our next fireside chat will be recorded on Thursday, February 22nd, so I look forward to being with you then. I pray between now and then, you take the time to learn about Black history in Canada, growing into an understanding and in openness. I'm going to endeavor to do the same. Until next time, goodbye.